On Christmas morning, my parents led my brother to the driveway where a brand new car sat waiting, wrapped in a giant, ridiculous red bow. They handed him the keys and a hug. Then, my mother turned to me, her smile tight as she passed me a thin envelope. "Don't worry," she said, her voice flat. "You'll understand someday." Oh, I understood. I understood that for my entire life, I was the afterthought. The backup plan. What they didn't get was that their years of blatant favoritism were hiding a secret. And something they'd long forgotten, sitting in a dusty old safe in the attic, was about to become my quiet, perfect revenge. Growing up, my family had 2 kids, Leo, the golden child, and me, the ghost. That wasn't just me being dramatic, it was a fact of our lives. The difference in how we were treated was as clear as it was painful. When Leo got a C on a history paper, he was praised for his creative thinking and treated to a steak dinner. When I brought home a report card full of A's, my father would glance at it, grunt, and say, "That's nice, Clara," before his eyes were back on the TV. His disinterest was a constant, crushing weight. This dynamic poisoned everything. Leo's childhood was a highlight reel of our parents' investment. He wanted to play hockey? Thousands of dollars in gear appeared without a second thought. He decided he wanted to be a musician? A brand new guitar materialized in his room. My passions, on the other hand, were just frivolous expenses. When I needed good art supplies for a school project, my mother sighed, "Let's not waste money on things you'll just get bored of." I ended up using my lunch money to buy cheap paints that flaked right off the canvas. College was the worst. My parents co-signed for Leo's downtown apartment, paid his tuition for a degree he barely cared about, and sent him living expenses, which really just meant beer money. I was handed a list of local community colleges and a pat on the back. I ended up working 2 jobs, waitressing on weeknights, stocking shelves on weekends, just to claw my way through a state school without drowning in debt. I learned to rely on no one but myself, not because I wanted to be independent, but because I had no other choice. It left me with this deep-seated feeling of inadequacy, a quiet wound I carried long after I left home. The Christmas with the car wasn't the first time I'd been slighted, but it was the last. Inside that thin envelope was a $50 gift card. $50. Next to a $30,000 car. The message couldn't have been clearer. I wasn't in second place, I was running a completely different race, on a much shorter track. That night, as they all toasted to Leo's bright future, something inside me just snapped. I was done waiting to be seen. I was done being the ghost. It was time to disappear for good. I left quietly. No big fight, no tearful goodbyes. I just packed my bags, left a vague note on my bed, and drove. For the first few months, they barely seemed to notice I was gone. I'd get an occasional, half-hearted text from my mother asking if I was okay, but it felt like she was just checking a box. Leo never contacted me at all. The silence just confirmed what I already knew. I didn't leave a hole in their lives. I found a small apartment a few states away and threw myself into my work. That independence I'd been forced to learn? It became my greatest asset. I was resilient, I was self-sufficient, and I knew how to work hard. But man, it was lonely. The feeling of being rejected my whole life isn't something you can just shake off. One night, while unpacking a box of old things, I found a small, rusted key with a worn leather tag. It was from my grandmother, my dad's mom, who passed away when I was 16. She was the only one who ever really saw me. She'd praise my drawings, actually listen to my stories, and look at me with a warmth I never got from my own parents. The tag on the key had her handwriting, "For Clara, when you need to find your own way." Suddenly, I remembered the old safe. It was this heavy, forgotten thing tucked in a corner of the attic, behind dusty boxes of Christmas stuff. My grandmother had insisted it stay with the house, and my parents, figuring it was empty, just left it there to collect dust. A few weeks later, with this gut feeling I just couldn't ignore, I drove back. I used my old key to let myself into my childhood home in the middle of a weekday, when I knew it would be empty. My heart was pounding as I climbed the attic stairs. The air was thick with the smell of old wood and memories. And there it was. The key slid into the lock and turned with a heavy clunk. The door creaked open, and when I looked inside, I couldn't breathe. It wasn't empty. Not at all. There was a thick, sealed envelope with my name scrawled across it, and under it, a stack of old documents. Inside the envelope was a letter from her. "My dearest Clara," it began, "if you are reading this, it means you have felt the need to walk your own path. I have watched your parents for years, and my heart has ached for you. Favoritism is a poison, and I fear they are too blind to the damage it does. They see your brother as an extension of their own dreams. You, my dear, are something more. You are your own person." She explained that she had left me a secret inheritance. The documents were matured savings bonds she'd bought in my name every single year since I was born, plus the deed to a small plot of land she owned out of state. "This isn't a handout," she wrote. "This is a key. A chance to build a life where you are the one who is valued. Don't look back. Your worth is not determined by their inability to see it." I just sat there in the dusty attic with tears streaming down my face, holding the proof I had craved my entire life. My grandmother's gift was my escape hatch. I cashed the bonds, which came to just over $50,000. It wasn't a fortune, but it was the seed money I needed. I sold the land and used everything to start a small graphic design business out of my tiny apartment. I poured every ounce of myself into it. All those years of being overlooked gave me this ferocious drive to prove my worth, if only to myself. My business grew slowly at first, and then all at once. My designs got noticed. Within 3 years, I had a roster of major clients and a small team. I moved into a beautiful loft downtown and built a real life for myself, filled with friends who became my chosen family, people who actually celebrated my wins and supported me through the losses. I had finally found peace. Meanwhile, back home, the golden child was starting to lose his shine. Leo, having never faced a real consequence in his life, was completely unprepared for the real world. He crashed the car within a year. He flunked out of college and bounced between low-wage jobs he could never hold down. My parents, still convinced he was special, just kept enabling him. They drained their savings to pay his rent, his bills, and fund his increasingly reckless choices. The pressure of being the star he never actually was making him unravel. The breaking point came almost 4 years after I left. I got a frantic call from my mother. I almost didn't answer, but I did. Her voice was strained with a panic I had never heard before. "Clara, we need your help," she said. "No hello, no how are you." She explained that they'd taken out a second mortgage on the house to fund one of Leo's brilliant business ideas. Of course, it had failed spectacularly, leaving them in a mountain of debt. Now, the bank was about to foreclose. "We need you to help us," she said, her voice shifting from panic to demand. "We're your parents. You owe us." I just listened as she laid it all out. They needed me to give them the money to save the house. There was no apology, no acknowledgement of anything, just this blunt, entitled expectation that I would clean up their mess. Same story, different day. Leo makes the problem, and I'm expected to fix it. Then my father got on the phone. "Your brother is going through a hard time," he said, his voice dripping with accusation. "And after everything we've done for you, this is how you repay us? By abandoning your family?" All the years of pain, of being made to feel small and worthless, just solidified into this single moment of absolute calm. My revenge wasn't going to be loud or angry. It was going to be quiet. It was going to be a simple, unshakable no. "I can't help you," I said, my voice perfectly steady. "What do you mean, you can't?" my mother shrieked into the phone. "You have that successful business. We see your pictures online. You have the money. You're right, I do, I said. And I have it because of a gift from Grandma. A gift she left me because she saw exactly what you were doing. She knew you would pour everything you had into Leo and leave me with nothing. The money you're asking for? It came from that old safe you forgot about in the attic. The safe that was under your roof the whole time, ignored and forgotten. Just like me. Silence. Just stunned, dead silence on the other end. They'd completely forgotten about it. I could hear my father stammering, but there was nothing to say. I had used the very symbol of their neglect to build my own freedom. The best revenge is a life well lived, my grandmother had written in her letter. I finally got it. I wished them luck and I hung up. As I hit the end call button, I felt a weight I'd been carrying for 20 years finally lift from my shoulders. It was over. I was free. In the months that followed, my parents lost the house. Leo had to get a menial job and move into some cheap apartment. They sent me a flood of guilt-tripping texts, which I blocked. My victory wasn't watching them fall. It was the quiet, profound satisfaction of knowing I had built a life on my own terms, free from their toxic world. Family isn't always the one you're born into. Sometimes, it's the people who see you, who value you, and who believe in you when no one else will. My revenge wasn't for them. It was for me. And it was perfect. It's amazing how one person can completely change your life's direction. For me, it was my grandmother. Have you ever had someone in your corner who believed in you when nobody else did? I'd love to hear about it in the comments. And if you're enjoying this story, please give it a like and subscribe for more stories about finding your own justice.